You couldn't hear it, see it, or smell it. It happened in an instant and might best be described as something eldritch, killing all those who had the misfortune of being within its wake. Hi, my name is Nathan Girardi, and today I'm going to be telling you about the incident that was, quote, more important to the dissolution of the USSR than his own plans for liberal reform, as stated by former President of the Soviet Union, Gorbachev. The incident in question, Chernobyl. The Chernobyl tragedy occurred due to the mishandlement of all those involved with it, and by looking back on it, we can tell exactly what happened there that day and how to prevent further incidents like it in the future. The information I've gathered today comes from first-hand responses, blueprints, what was gathered there in Chernobyl, and the cleanup attempt that's currently occurring there today. I'm going to tell you about what Chernobyl was, what happened there, and what's going on there today. Now, with that being said, let's get into the meat of the discussion. The Chernobyl incident occurred at modern-day Ukraine at a commercial nuclear power plant, comprised of 4 main reactors, the fourth of which would melt down. According to World Nuclear, an association that records all nuclear testing to make the information available to the public, it was a rush job, to say the least. Quote, Chernobyl was the product of flawed Soviet design and uncaring staff, and was bound to melt down eventually. The reactor had already begun giving signs that something was wrong, but was being ignored by staff. Preceding the incident, quote, the reactor crew at Chernobyl 4 began preparing for a test to determine how much longer the turbines would spin in order to supply power. And it was during this a mistake occurred that would cause the meltdown to occur. When the systems began giving off warning signs, the crew ignored them, and the safety measures were ignored, and the reactor began to melt down. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, quote, once there was no one left, the turbines would begin to spin, and the water explosion that would occur soon after would cause the death of 2 people, along with the nuclear energy to melt down and out of the reactor. And this would lead to the death of 30 more people within the upcoming days, and much destruction to follow. Now that I have set the stage, let's talk about exactly what happened there on the day of. The first 2 lives lost were the 2 closest operators, the first one dying of nuclear radiation syndrome within minutes, the second dying in a hospital not too long after that of NRS. 270 people were diagnosed with NRS immediately following the Chernobyl meltdown. Of those, 130 people died. According to ABC Science, when someone experiences NRS, the first symptoms shown are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and headaches. Following that, if the signs are more severe, you'll have skin blisters, permanent skin damage, third-degree burns, and ulcers. Any stronger than that, and you tend to die. The Chernobyl incident also left many people displaced. According to National Geographic, 335,000 locals around the power plant in Ukraine were displaced due to the meltdown. It is also according to them that the area will not be inhabitable again for another 20,000 years due to the nuclear radiation being so high. So that's what Chernobyl was and what occurred there the day of. Now let's talk about what's going on at Chernobyl today. Of the discoveries that have happened there today, the two most pressing is the elephant's foot and the metal coffin that was created to contain it. I shall be discussing the elephant's foot first, as it has more direct implications on the current climate of Chernobyl. The elephant's foot is the nuclear energy source that was contained within Reactor 4 that melted into the cement underneath it post-meltdown. It was discovered 8 months after the meltdown occurred by a cleanup crew in a corridor right underneath Reactor 4. It was described as black lava and looked like the following. The picture is grainy due to the amount of nuclear radiation that was in the area. It is also worth noting that the cameraman and the person within the photo both died of NRS. According to the World Nuclear Association, the elephant's foot is so radioactive that a mere 1 minute around it will be a guaranteed lethal dose of radiation. Following that, what was known as the metal coffin began construction and completed in 2017, 4 years ago. The metal coffin is the world's largest man-made terrestrial movable object. It's 117 tons, and it was created that way so that it could keep in the radiation and prevent more from leaking out, but also let cleanup crews and cleanup machinery to come in and out without having to leave a major gap open to leak out the radiation. This information was also provided by the World Nuclear Association. So, in conclusion, Chernobyl was a nuclear reactor that melted down in April of 1986 in the commercial sector of Soviet Ukraine. That due to faulty design and an incompetent staff led to a meltdown that would harm thousands of people. Not long after that, the elephant's foot was discovered and the construction of the metal coffin soon. The Chernobyl incident was a tragedy that could have been prevented, but due to faulty Soviet design and uncaring staff, was not. Chernobyl was something truly outside of human comprehension, and nothing like it has happened since. Hopefully, this will be the last.